how did that become part of how you are as a wrestler to get back up whenever someone does repeatedly put you down?
That's just kind of the whole Houston Hendrix thing. I'm much younger than everyone else. I'm much smaller than everyone else. I can't be out here powerbombing Boa Mir back, you know? I have
That'd
to.
be cool though.
It would be really cool. Maybe in a couple of years, maybe in like 5 or 10 years, when I'm finally big enough to do so, I'll try to powerbomb Boa Mir. But the whole Houston Hendrix thing, it's just, I'm so much smaller, I'm so much younger. I need to be able to be the tough guy. I need to be able to be the guy that can't be put down very easily. I take a lot of inspiration from Sami Zayn.
Okay.
That's probably one of my, and every time I say it, people like, it clicks in their brain like, oh, I actually see that a lot.
Right. There is Houston Hendrix in the house. How are you?
I am doing phenomenal. How about you?
Good. So I'm sure every wrestler who's going through their career started off as a fan.
Yeah.
What was that one moment that made you makes you exposed to wrestling as that fan?
Ooh. So like, what was my first experience as a fan? Like how I got into it?
Yeah, and what was the one that you got really interested in
Okay, I'll tell you how I found out about wrestling first.
Okay.
So I was like 4 years old, and I was over at a friend's house, and there was this action figure that for some reason I was really drawn to. I had no idea who it was. I had no idea what wrestling was about, but for whatever reason I was really drawn to it. And after a couple of days, I would go to his house like every single day. Every single day I'd pick up that action figure, and he was like, "Do you just want to take it home? Because I don't use it." So I took it home, and I showed my dad. And he was a wrestling fan growing up as well. This was back in like the 80s though for him. But he recognized the figure, and he told me it was a John Cena action figure. And he told me the whole rundown about what wrestling was and blah, blah, blah. And that night was Friday night. And back then, it was Friday Night SmackDown. Well, before they went to Thursday, and they had Tuesdays for a little bit, but same thing. Friday Night SmackDown was on that night. And he turned it on, and I can't remember what my first match was, but I do remember, like, seeing the first match and just being, like, blown away by it and just never letting go of it then.
What made wrestling such a special thing for you? Because 4 years old is a very impressionable age. Like, what was so special about seeing those wrestling matches as a kid?
I don't really know for sure. I just think I wasn't really into like a lot of things as a kid. Like I had video games that was a little bit older than 4. I played with friends a lot, but wrestling was like the first like I guess hobby I ever had was watching wrestling. So I think just the pure fact of just these larger than life athletes jumping off the rope, it's just a crazy visual for a 4-year-old to see for the first time, you know? I think it was just too mind blowing for me to not stick with it.
Like, do you ever had an encounter with a wrestler, like in a meet and greet, or you saw them down the street?
No.
Okay.
I'll
so
give
just the
you
matches that got you.
Yeah. I never went to a show. I never met a wrestler. And I've never gone to an indie show. Everything I ever did for the first time was as an actual wrestler. The first time I met like a name, I was already a wrestler. First time I ever went to a show was a show I worked on as a wrestler. So it was just, I never really got to have that experience as a fan.
What was the one moment that made you say, hey, I'm going to do wrestling?
WrestleMania 30.
Okay.
Daniel Bryan versus Batista and Randy Orton. But specifically, there's a video package before the triple threat. It was Daniel Bryan, and I think it was Imagine Dragons, and it was Monster. It was that video. And something about it like put down all of Daniel Bryan's like indie tapes all the way to current day. And something about it was just like, I really want to do this now. Something about it was just really inspiring. And mind you, 2014, I was 8. So I'm still very impressionable, you know?
Okay. And who are you trained under? Like, what was the first time you've ever trained as a wrestler?
It was at AAPW. Technically, I have like an amateur background. I tend to
Okay, there you
pretend.
go.
I tend to say that it doesn't exist in the world of my Houston because not very good at it. I was not. But it was July 19th, 2021, and that was my first training day. It was with Pops, it was with AAPW. I haven't left the school, I haven't gone anywhere else, but it was that. I've only gone through one training. I've just been continuous the entire time.
What was special? Because I've had him before. What makes Pops such a special coach that you've gone through as you started training at AEW?
He's a character for sure. I'll say that much.
Of course.
He's definitely a character. You'll never have like a dull moment with Pops. But I'm gonna expose myself a little bit. It takes a lot of patience to be a trainer. I'm kind of like the AAPW vet, and it takes a lot of patience to train people and to not like just say, you know what, I'm done for the night. It takes a lot of that, and I'll always respect Pops for being able to do this. It's been like 6 or 7, 8 years since he's bought the school from George.
Right.
And I can't believe he's done it for this long without just like going crazy one day. Because I know I can't do it. I know I can't.
When you got through your graduation match, and within that year of that rigorous training that you've had, as you got through that graduation match, within that 60 minutes of seeing all the hard work that you've done, what was that like when you finally got that certificate and saying, hey, I'm a wrestler?
It didn't sink in for a really, really long time. I think it was probably, I'd even say like last year, because I graduated in 2022.
Okay.
I would say it was probably not until 2023 when stuff like sunk in. And this is whenever I had hurt my hip and I was out for a couple of months. I had torn my labrum and like my hip flexor and a lot of cartilage and all that. And I'm just like I had distanced myself from wrestling like completely. I wasn't watching it. I wasn't going to the class. I wasn't talking about it. Just wrestling was completely out of my life for like 3 or 4 months. And whenever I came back, I realized like this is genuinely just like a part of my life now, because it felt like, obviously since I wasn't like involved with it, it didn't feel like abnormal. But when I got back into it, it made me realize like I subconsciously missed it, you know? That's just whenever I realized it's like, this is my life now. It's just wrestling is part of my life, and it's never gonna escape me, which isn't a bad thing. It sounds like I'm saying it like it's a bad thing, but it really is just a part of my life now.
What motivated you to go over and being back in the wrestling grind after that period of walking away from it?
Well, I hadn't walked away from it like completely. I always had intentions of coming back that was better, but while I was down, I just didn't want to like have it in my life, because I knew I was gonna miss it, and I knew I was gonna get back in the ring early, which I did anyway. But that's why I didn't quit, you know? I didn't quit, but I did like push it off to the side for the couple of months I was out.
So you just took a break. A better way
Pretty
of wording
much.
it is you took a break.
Yeah. But it was just like, I was probably about 2 years in at that point, and it was definitely the longest I'd ever gone without training.
So, we're gonna talk about your debut, but we'll do that later on. Of course, with every time that everyone trains at AAPW and you have matches along the way, one thing that kind of stood out was having Jay Lethal and having that tag match with him. What was that feeling like, working with someone who has a better experience in their wrestling move set when you had that tag match against Zach Taylor? Zach Taylor, yes. Zach Taylor. Okay, I have to make sure because I'm mixing the two. Like, what was that like tagging with him during that time?
It was such a random experience to have, because they had announced like Lethal was coming to the school.
Okay.
But Pops hadn't told anyone who he was working with. So people had no idea what was going to happen. And this was in the middle of Zach and I were in the middle of a feud for the AAPW Wrestling Championship. Zach had the championship, and I was like, we had like 5 or 6 matches together leading up to this. And Pop pulls me aside, literally like, I think the same week of the match.
Okay.
And it was like, it's going to be you and Lethal against Zeke. And at the time, it was going to be the Leroy Brown, who
Okay.
was now KDP.
Right.
But KDP got really, really sick, like a couple of days before the match, and we were just not
Okay.
going to be able to make it. So we had the idea to plug Zach in, because in the storyline it would make a little bit more sense. So we have that match, and you're asking about what it's like to be in the ring with Lethal. It's insane how just
Mhm.
naturally it comes to people like that when you've been working for that long. Because I think he's been in the business for like 20 years, probably a little bit
Yeah,
more.
he's had his time.
Yeah, and it surprises you how naturally everything comes to you. Like calling that match was the easiest thing ever because everything just comes so naturally to him. It's like he had the whole match planned out, but he didn't. He didn't know who we were until that night. So every time I work with someone over like 10 years, it always blows my mind just how naturally like gifted they are, which is it's a given, you know.
Were you aware of Jay Lethal's work before you started working with him?
I wasn't like a super fan. I wasn't like studying Jay Lethal tapes every day of my life, you know, but I knew who he was. I watched a lot of matches with him. I enjoy his work back then, and I still do now. But
Okay.
I wasn't like super duper like familiar, you know. I did do my fair share of studying whenever Pops told me that I was gonna be in the ring with him. I made sure
Right.
to catch up on some things, but as far as like, I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't like a super duper big fan of his.
And as you got to work with him and with that match, when you were waiting for that tag and watching Jay Lethal do his thing against Zach and Zeke, what were you looking? What were you observing? How he moves in the ring?
It was mostly just, oh my God, he actually took the heat from me.
Hmm.
Like logistically, I would take the heat and he would get the big comeback. But no, he gave me the big comeback in that match. He let me run House of Fire on them. And that was the main thing that stuck with me. It was just like, I'm just sitting on the apron like, wow, he's taken bumps for me. He just took like 50 chops for me in front of like 150 people, which is nothing for him anymore. He works TNA, AEW, thousands of people every night,
Yeah.
and he's working his ass off for me, which is it was really cool. I made sure to thank him for that because that was a really nice moment. But as for movement, everything he does is so much more levels above everyone else on this level, which isn't like a knock on anyone. Obviously, Lethal's gonna be so much different than everyone else,
Of
but
course.
it's always interesting watching like big signed names versus indie talent that's only like a couple of years in. Because I don't know as a fan you can tell, but as a worker, it's like Lethal's up here, everyone else is down here, you know? And sometimes it just blows my mind to think that these people that are like the best, they're not that level. They're not they're not like I've seen Mustafa Ali, I've seen Matt Riddle, I've seen Jay Lethal obviously work with people who are like just a couple years in on the indies, and it really is just like a mind-blowing difference that you can be that good, you know?
And when it's basically you're basically like noticing just how fluid his moves are during that match, right?
Fluidity, like knowing when to get the crowd fired up, um, fighting back at the right times, reaching over for tags, but like having them pull his leg backwards. There's something simple like that he does it all at like the right times. Like there wasn't a missed moment like at all in that match, I don't think. And it was because him leading all three of us at one time.
And when that hot tag came out and he was ducking and diving, when you had that tag and you had your moment, what was that like getting in the ring with during that match?
I'm not gonna lie, it felt like a normal match. I really
Okay.
try to not let like any starstruck if like starstruckenness hit me.
Okay.
I wanted to act like it wasn't a big deal, and because I knew if I put too much pressure on myself, I was gonna mess something up. And
Okay.
this is the one match I didn't want that to happen. So I made sure to like keep everything calm and cool and like relaxed with myself and not try to put too much pressure.
And you're just basically like you're just going through what's needed to be done for this match
Yeah,
to be put over, basically.
for sure. Yeah.
And when you had that frog splash and when you heard the bell, like what was that moment like? And when someone says, like, here's your winner.
That's when I let the starstruckenness hit me.
Oh,
That's when
okay.
I let like, let's go. I just tied with Jay Lethal. That's nice.
And
That's
you
when
just
I
had
let
your
all the.
focus.
That's
Yeah, go
whenever
ahead.
we just had a good time. And I don't know if you saw in the match. I don't remember if they cut the stream off or not. But we did the little flare walk in the ring. We did the woos. We did all the marquee stuff, and it was just a fun time afterwards.
And you're celebrating at that point too.
Yeah,
You're like,
yeah.
yep, I work with Jay Lethal.
And it wasn't like a like I just won the match celebration. It was just like I was celebrating,
Ah,
not Houston
okay.
Hendrix.
And I was gonna ask that too. I should have asked this earlier. Where did the name come from?
It's my real name.
Oh, okay, okay, gotcha. And for that time, and you brought up the wrestling champion. To have that belt, at that moment in time, and the numerous times that you've defended it, how is that important to your budding career as a wrestler?
It was definitely the time I learned the most
Okay,
because this is my first singles championship,
okay,
and the way I won it, like the 5 matches with Zach, lethal heading up into the big match at the very end. I worked with so many people along the way that taught me so many things. Like I worked like almost every AAPW vet there is. I worked
okay.
like everybody like that was at the school at the time. I've had so many matches and they weren't like throwaway matches either. They were all like 15-minute long, 20-minute long matches like every week. And it's hard to not learn when you have matches like of that caliber like every single week. It's hard to just throw away knowledge, you learn everything. You learn something every time. And I'm trying to get that back, I'm trying to be able to learn that much like week after week. I wish I can, but it's not that easy. I was really gifted with that position to like have it for it was like 7 months, 8 months, something along those lines.
Were the standards already set high, or did it build up to that point when you're defending that championship?
Standards were really high, I feel like,
Okay.
because the way the belt was introduced, I was definitely the youngest person to have it.
Wow.
Not only in age, but just like an experience level. Because it was a part of it, like the belt was just a major storyline until I had got it. So the
Okay.
standard was already high. Um, and I think I met the match. I think I set the bar for sure.
Okay, got it. And when one thing I should have added this on our rundown, and having Epidemius Jr. At AAPW, working with someone who is who has more experience, and not as much as Jay Lethal, but like to work with someone who has his own unique set of athleticism. Going through that match and going through that, what was it like working with someone who has that level of athleticism during that match at AAPW.
I wish I remember that match when you gave me the rundown. That's also probably one of my favorite matches I've ever had, which is really funny because it was in front of like literally 18 people at AAPW.
Okay.
And I will say this, Epi isn't a super big guy. I think he might legitimately be one of the strongest people I've ever been in the ring with.
Really?
He is so strong, and I have no idea how, but he just is. He is. I don't know what they feed these kids. I say that like he's not older than I am, but I don't know what he was being fed as a child, but he is so strong. He is so fast. He is so agile. It's just, he's the beast, man. He really is.
Yeah. And of course, like when you started going outside AAPW, one promotion came to mind that's within Austin is Inspire. And how did that come about? Like, how did that handshake start with Inspire?
So Lil Evil, this is a while back. He told me to come out to, like, Inspire had taken a break during the pandemic.
Okay.
I think they were gone from like 2020 to like mid to late 2021. And when they finally came back, it was a really big deal. Because Inspire is like the place for Austin wrestling. It's honestly the place for Texas wrestling, in my opinion. But
Okay.
it was a big deal when they came back. And I don't remember if it was the first show they had. But it was definitely one of them that I came back to, or not back to, but I came to, and I met the owners, Max and Biss. I met a lot of people in the locker room, and I only talked to everyone for like maybe 5 minutes before I had to sell merch at the merch table for like 4.5 hours.
Okay.
So I never got to talk to anyone after that. And being 15 years old with no driver's license, I wasn't able to return for a really long time. So
Okay.
it was probably another year before I got back to Inspire. And this is whenever they moved to the Empire on 7th Street.
Okay.
I come back for the first time, and somehow everyone knows who I am. And I'm the kid who tagged with Jay Lethal. That was my name for the longest time. And I ended up talking to Max and Biss. They recognized me from that match, and just from working AAPW, and I think I was working Baracho at this point. And they gave me Kari to tag with, and we just took the ball and we ran with it for a couple of months.
Okay. How hard was it to establish, your name out there? And, how did you work to get to being renowned and Inspire? Like, well, what did it take for you to break past, the kid who tagged with Jay Lethal? What did it take for you to break past that mold?
Just time. I think my biggest stepping point has obviously been Inspire, just because it's the biggest promotion. And everyone there is so cool. It's like, it's do your own thing. We're not gonna have like super strict set of rules. The fans are the coolest thing in the world. It was just time. It wasn't really like a super like, I didn't really have a chip on my shoulder because I knew that it was just gonna pass with time. That I would no longer be the kid who just tagged with Lethal. But everyone there is just super cool, and it's kind of hard to not evolve yourself at a place like Inspire. It's kind of hard to be stuck in the same spot for months and years and stuff like that. So it wasn't really hard at all, to be honest. You just had to be comfortable with just going out there every month and just trying to steal the show, which I feel like has been my goal the entire time.
Because we had that street fight, and going to a match that's out of traditional wrestling rules, like, what did it take to learn to be in that street fight? And who did you face in that match too?
It was Kari, my former tag partner, who turned on me a couple of months beforehand. It was my first like hardcore match I had one prior. It was a triple threat match, but we didn't really do like it wasn't a crazy match, you know? It was pretty tame. This one wasn't though. This one was pretty crazy.
Okay.
Um, Bump on a guardrail, took a couple of bumps onto some chairs, took some really painful chair shots, a lot of kendo stick shots, um, pile driver on chairs, coast to coast. We did a lot of crazy stuff in that match. And it was I don't know if it was out of my comfort zone. It was very different though, which
Okay.
I feel like is a good thing. It made me use my brain in different ways that I haven't used my brain for wrestling before. And I feel like it helped me evolve like move set and like transitioning between moves and just overall being able to use my brain in a different way. Not only in a different way for street fights, but in a different way for traditional matches, you know?
And you got more creative
Yes,
with
yeah.
how your skill set is going to be.
I feel like I'm much more creative following that match.
Okay, cool. So we're going to talk about, because you've, and see how it's evolving from AAPW to now to Austin and now in Corpus with TWC. And I'm going to ask the same question as the one prior. Like, how did they approach you to debut in Corpus Christi?
I don't exactly remember. It was after an Inspire show for sure. So
Okay.
I know Haley comes to which is the promoter, Booker,
Yep.
Haley. She comes out to the Inspire shows, at least most of them. I'm trying to I think it was after my first match with Kari. No, it couldn't have been. It was after a match for sure. I remember she said that she enjoyed the match, and she gave me the rundown about TWC, and we had set up a date, and my first ever match was in January. It was against David Kidd,
Okay.
and just like they were telling me that the crowd loved me like from like as soon as I made my entrance, and I think it was gonna be a one-off thing. I think that was their plan.
Okay.
I remember them saying like just they wanted to bring me back more and more, and I was like, of course I'd love to be back, and I've been on just about every show since then, I think. And TWC is definitely one of my favorite places to work. If I gave you a list, Inspire and TWC would definitely be probably 1 and 2, in my opinion. It's a very fun spot to work.
Okay. And it's interesting because what's the difference in terms of how Corpus Christi is different in Austin? What were some of those like differences and similarities wrestling in basically in those two cities?
I feel like Inspire and TWC are very, very similar, which is
Okay.
probably why I enjoy them so much, because that type of like crowd environment is it's so fun to be in front of. It's so fun to be around. And I wish more promotions were like that. They're just so excited to be there, and you can feel the energy, even like if you're in the back. If you can just feel the crowd, no matter where you go. And the locker room is phenomenal in both companies. The promoters there are amazing people. It's everything about both Inspire and TWC. There's just I can't think of any negative things about either of them, and I think that's why it's just so fun to be around.
Yeah, because this is the match that I saw you first at TWC was with Shimbashi. What was it like, wrestling someone who's had like, and we talked about it with that, be like, what was it like facing with Shimbashi and working with him during that match?
Well, I can't really like tell you anything I was surprised with, because
Okay.
Shimbashi and I are breaking kayfabe here. We're pretty good friends, but that was our first match together. Another guy who's just like incredibly strong. It's just surprising. Him and Epi are probably the two strongest people I've been in the ring with, other than like someone massive like Bo. If you're talking about just sleeper builds, Epi and Shimbashi are up there for sure as just the strongest people. Um, I can't really tell you anything that surprised me though, because again, we're pretty good friends. I feel
Okay.
like I know what to expect when I'm working someone like that.
Okay. And now we're gonna say, because you mentioned it a few seconds ago. When Bo had that open challenge, and asked to go with him, and when your entrance music came in and you jumped out, what was it like? Facing someone who's like stronger and bigger than you. Like, what was that like working with Bo?
He was absolutely the biggest person I've ever been in the ring with. Um, 7 feet tall, gotta be at least like 285 bare minimum, and that's being generous with how big he is. Um, I did the math actually. So his finisher is a power bomb, right? And
Okay.
he lifts me. He did it like last ride position, and my like my butt was right on top of his head, right?
Wow.
So I measured from my butt to my head, and it was like a little low. It was like 12 feet and 8 inches. My head was
Oh
off
my
the ground.
gosh.
My head was like 12 feet and 8 inches off the floor. And let me tell you, power bombs in general are not very fun to take, but a 13-foot power bomb is really not fun to take. Um, I took two of them. And I'm gonna be I'm gonna make sure to be very nice to him next time I see him, so that way I don't need to take two ever
Exactly.
again. He's
Because
definitely. I'm not gonna be looking for revenge on Boemir anytime soon. I don't think it's worth it.
yeah, you got through, and you're like, you know what? Respect that
Yeah,
happened.
I cheated death, and I'm not trying to try it the second time. I don't want to risk my luck, you know?
Because one thing I noticed with that match too is you went back down, and Bo is doing his best to put you down, and then you got back up, and that's what I'm noticing with most of your matches. You always find ways to get back up. How did that? How did that become part of how you are as a wrestler to get back up whenever someone does repeatedly put you down?
That's just kind of the whole Houston Hendrix thing. I'm much younger than everyone else. I'm much smaller than everyone else. I can't be out here power bombing Boemir back, you know? I have
That'd
to.
be cool though.
It would be really cool. Maybe in a couple of years, maybe in like 5 or 10 years, I'm finally big enough to do so. I'll try to powerbomb Boemir. Um, but the whole Houston Hendrix thing is just, I'm so much smaller. I'm so much younger. I can't really be. I need to be able to be the tough guy. I need to be able to be the guy that can't be put down very easily. It's very. I take a lot of inspiration from Sami Zayn.
Okay.
That's probably one of my, and every time I say it, people like, it clicks in their brain, like, oh, I actually see that a lot.
Right.
Sami Zayn's definitely someone I watch a lot, and someone I've taken from a lot. Him and Shawn Michaels. Him and Shawn Michaels are like my two most probably watched wrestlers, just like ever, honestly.
Okay.
And I try to take a lot from both of them.
And how do you incorporate how they do as wrestlers? How did you incorporate that into your own wrestling moves down the line?
I try not to take moves from people.
Okay.
I try to take my moveset. I try my very best to be like Houston Hendrix's moveset. I don't
Okay.
want to like, let me do this thing, let me do that thing. Oh, Shawn Michaels does this, let me take that. I try my best to not do that. I try to make up my own moveset. What I do try to do is take other people's mannerisms and ways of selling and like crowd interactions kind of. I try to make that my key points that I take from these like just the goats of wrestling, the Bret Harts, the Shawn Michaels, the Sami Zayns, the who else? The 1-2-3 Kid, people like that. I try
Right.
to take mannerisms and selling. I don't like taking moves like that.
Okay. Cool. So I've talked about the matches that I've observed, and this is your moment. What were some matches that you think are the most special in your career?
Obviously, I gotta go with my debut coming up first.
Okay.
December 11th, I think. I try to memorize all like the important date. I think it was December 11th, 2021. I went up against Michael Arrow in my first singles match ever. I had a battle royal prior, but I don't really count that as like my first match. It was just kind of something I was in and out type thing. But
Okay.
Michael Arrow was my first like true match. And I'm not gonna lie, I hated that match for the longest time. And I haven't watched it
Okay.
back in a couple of years. I'm sure I'll probably hate it again if I watched it back. But as of right now, it holds a close spot in my heart for obvious reasons, you know? But it was everyone's first match, I hope, is like a good memory for them. Because I know mine wasn't for the longest time, and it kind of sucked. Because you only get one first, you know? You only get one first and one last. If you have any matches that are like really bad, you don't want them to be your first and your last.
hmm
But that's
Like,
about it for that.
okay.
Well,
Like, and like you mentioned, there's another match that you brought up as well. Why don't you say that one? That was the one with Connor Chen.
yeah. So we've had I think Counter and I have had the most matches of anyone. I think we're at like 12 matches with each other right now,
Wow.
which is really crazy for an indie wrestler. Um, but this specific, by the way, I'm gonna go on a little tangent if that's okay. I was also Connor's debut match, and I think literally his second match was me, someone I can't name, and then Connor. And then, like, his third match again was a 2 out of 3 falls match that we, for some reason, went like 20 minutes in for his
Wow.
third match. And we've had a lot of scrambles, we had a lot of tag matches. And this match specifically, it was probably about a year after his debut. It was a 30-minute Iron Man match. And to this day, it's my favorite match of mine, for sure. And I've tried really, really hard to top that many, many times. I just can't do it yet. I don't know what it is. But that match holds a really close spot for me because, again, breaking kayfabe, Connor and I are also really close friends. And I'll even go as far as saying that he's probably my best friend in wrestling.
Okay.
And to have a match that was not only that good, but also just like that fun to be a part of. It was incredible. It really is.
So with 2024 being close to the end in a couple of months, like what are some goals that you're looking forward to for the rest of the year?
So up until very recently being literally just maybe like a month ago,
Okay.
I wanted to get as many bookings as possible. I wanted to work as many spots as possible. But I've had a couple injuries that I haven't fully taken care of that I probably
Okay.
should have. And at the time, I felt like I was doing okay for myself, but it's becoming pretty apparent that I'm like, I feel like if I continue wrestling with the way I am, I feel like I might be on borrowed time. And I'm only
Okay.
18. I can't be doing that. I want to have a longer career than this. So I'm working a little bit less. I'm working maybe like an average of 2 or 3 matches, like 3 or 4 matches a month,
Okay.
which is, at one point I was working consistently, like, I think in the month of just June alone, I worked like 12. And I think July was like
Wow.
8 or 9. I think I was working a lot for the first half of the year. I
Okay.
want to calm that down though, because I really do. My body is not feeling as good as it should be at 18. So I'm trying very hard to like fully heal out everything before I start going crazy again.
And it's just basically trying to find rest within the times that you're working
Yeah.
at that point in the year.
I'm trying to save myself for like bigger shows and not just quality over quantity, you know? That's kind of
Right.
what I'm at right now because I want to still wrestle. I don't want to like take time off, but I also need to like listen to my body and understand that I'm 18 years old with 2 bad hips and a bad back. It's not good at all, you know?
Right.
So I'm using this time. I'm trying to gain weight. I'm trying to get my cardio up, but I'm also not trying to like lose, like, you like, if you don't use it, you lose it. I think that's what the saying is. And I want to use
Yeah.
it just enough to where I don't lose it. I at least want to like stay even, you know?
Yeah, there's a balance with everything too.
I'm
Awesome.
hoping by
So
like, oh,
good.
I'm hoping by like the start of 2025, I'll be able to kick it back into full gear.
Okay. And I was thinking about this too, like especially now that you're finding like this new perspective of like of how you're functioning in the wrestling in your wrestling. What was the one thing that kind of made you realize, oh, okay, this might be too much? Like, were there moments like that now that you're experiencing how the body's functioning on your side?
Just like every match, I need like 3 or 4 days to like just like calm down a little bit now.
Yeah.
Because like after every match, my back's always killing me, my hip is always killing me, and it's not even like injury related. I don't think I was born to be a wrestler because I naturally have a lot of problems with my body that I'm finding out because of wrestling. A lot
Okay.
of stuff I was born with, but I don't want that to stop me at the same time, you know? So I'm trying to like take this time to heal and strengthen up those weak points that I was born with and hopefully like have the proper body to be a wrestler.
Exactly. So I'm gonna end this conversation. First of all, thank you, Houston. That was a very, very good conversation we've had,
Yeah,
because I
thank you
think,
for having me.
oh, of course. And I was thinking about, like, because we talk a lot whenever I'm at training and watching you guys how you do your training. So like after this conversation, kind of it made me realize how much potential you have. And like, you know, and I'm not saying this in like a negative connotation, but to have someone like Jay Lethal early in your career, that kind of blew my mind when I was researching your match. I was like, wow, if you have Jay Lethal, I mean, you can take on anybody, even a Bo Mir who's like 7 feet tall
Yeah.
and power bombing you twice to get through that. So I found a new appreciation in what you did. And whenever I watch, whether it's an AAPW or an Inspire or TWC down the line, like I have like newfound admiration in what you're doing in the wrestling business.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. That really does mean a lot, man. I appreciate that a lot.
Right. So I'll end this conversation here. So usually I would do advice to your younger self. I'm gonna spin this a little differently. And if you were in the same room as that Houston Hendrix at 8 years old, if you're in that same room with him, and with what you're doing in your career and what you're doing for the business, what would you like to talk to him about?
Well, this might be like reading too deep into the lines, but do you know how like in movies, if you do like if you travel to the future or the past and you change
Okay.
one thing and you go back into the like present time,
Okay.
everything's like completely different. I
Okay.
don't think I'd say anything. I think I just watch him. I think I just look at Houston, watching that little Daniel Bryan vignette, and just run back on those memories of what it was like to be that young and realizing like this is what I want to do. I think I just watch.
Oh, you're just gonna observe instead
Yeah.
of just having. Because I had a guest who's like that, and I'm like, okay, you're number two of. You're the number
Who
two
was the first? Who was the
Brad
first?
Gilmore. Brad Gilmore was one of my guests early in the season, and he almost said the same thing, but he refers it to Back to the Future.
Yeah.
So he kind of understood, like, hey, okay, I'm not gonna touch anything because it might ripple somewhere down the lines. I was
Yeah.
like, okay. So
Like I said,
okay,
I'm
no,
probably reading too deep into the lines, but That's if it was like real life, I would be so scared to say anything. I really would.
Okay. No, and if I was in that position and no one asked, and if I was in that position, I would have said, "Keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah,
Like, keep doing what you're doing." Because like, the only thing that I would say is pay attention. Keep doing what you're doing, but pay attention. That's the only thing
that's
I would say. I will be just as vague.
yeah. You don't want to take any chances with messing anything up. 'Cause
Yeah.
like obviously you could say something that makes something really good, but it's equal chances to like just completely mess everything up and ruin everything you have going for you.
Okay, awesome. So I have nothing left to give. Houston Hendrix, you have the floor. And yeah, where can we find you?
Everywhere is just it's if you just look up my name anywhere, you'll find me. But specifically Instagram and Twitter, it's just Houston Hendrix with an underscore at the end. Try to keep it very basic so people can remember it.
Exactly. So, but this will end our conversation with Houston Hendrix. For those who are watching and listening, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you guys on the next one.